In this lecture, we're going to look at QML basic types. Before we start looking at the data types in QML, I'd like to go in the documentation in Qt Creator and show you some things. You go to the documentation by clicking on this Help tab here. And in the search bar here, make sure that you have index selected like me here if you want to see exactly the same things I'm saying. And in here, type QML basic types. Okay, you're going to see some choices here. We're going to choose the second one here, and we're going to look at it. If you look, the title says QML basic types. And down here, they show you the basic types that we're going to look at. There's a Boolean data types, there's a double, enumeration, integer, list, real string, and all these things. Right now, we're going to create a QML project and play with these things. So we're going to start a new project. It's going to be a Qt Quick application, an empty one. We're going to call it QML data types demo. We're going to save it in a location on our drive. Hit next. Choose our build system as QMake. And you choose the latest version of Qt you have installed. We choose the desktop kit and finish. After this, we're going to have our starter project. We're going to change the title here and make it say QML data types demo. Because we don't want an empty project, we're going to put a rectangle in the middle. We're going to give it a width of 200 and a height of 100. Why not? And inside the rectangle, we're going to put a text element. The ID is going to be mText ID. And the text is going to say hello world. If you look here, you see the text is wrapped into this QSTR function. It is a function that helps when you want to translate your application into multiple languages. We're not going to go into that right now. Just take this as if it was a piece of text that we put here. We want to center this rectangle in the parent, so we're going to say anchors center in parent, and we want to give it a color of yellow so that it is visible. We also want to anchor this text in the center of the rectangle to have things laid out nicely. So let's do that. We're going to copy that property and paste it here. We can do that. Let's run the application and see what it looks like. You see we have hello world in the middle. This is our design. From the last lecture, you must be starting to be familiar with these things. These are the properties for our window element. Inside we have a rectangle, and the rectangle has a child of its own, which is this text element here. Okay, you can put in any properties that this element supports. And if you want to look at the documentation for any element, you can select it, hit F1, and you're going to be taken into the documentation on the right here. If you want to show the help mode in full, you can click on this button here, open in help mode, and it's going to show the documentation for that element. In this case, it is the text element. But we're going to look at this later in the course. Let's go back to our project. The first thing I want to do is to create a string data type. How do I do that? I say property. String. I'm going to call this mString, and let it say hello world. Why not? One thing I can do with this string is really assign it to anything. Okay, so the first thing I can do, I can assign it as the text of this text element. So let's do that. I can do something like this. Sorry. And if I run it, guess what we are going to see in the middle? Hello world. Our variable here is being assigned to the text element right here. The other thing we can do is show this string in a log statement when this window component here has been loaded. So we're going to say component. We've done this before on completed, and we can say console log the value of mString as and we're going to say it here, m string. If we run the application, we're going to see this message here, and the value is going to be hello world, and we're also going to see hello world in this text element here. Let's run the application. Hello world. The value of m string is hello world in the application output pane here. Okay, so you should really notice this console log thing. It is a way that JavaScript gives you to output log messages. There is another one you can use, which is called print, and we can say print. And if we run, we're going to see the same thing. Okay, the value of m string is hello world. Now that you've seen how to work with the string data type, we can try other ones. So let's try an integer. So we're going to say property int. It's going to be called mint, and let's call this 45. Okay, you can also output this console log the value of, if we run the application, we're going to see that. Okay, it's 45, and you can work with this value in your application whenever you need an integer value. For example, we can add this to the height of our middle rectangle here. So we can say mint and add it like this. And if we run, we're going to see the rectangle become a little bit bigger in height. Another data type we want to look at is a Boolean data type. So we're going to say property bool. Let's call this is female, and say false. In the onCompleted method here, we can do some tests. Let's say if is female, do a console log, for example, and say else. If it's not a female, we're going to say console log you may. Okay, so let's run the application. You may wear a suit because you're not a female. Remember, female is false here. So let's change this to true, run again. And you may wear a dress because you are a female. Female is true here. So you can also use this property in your code. Let's change this text here to bold if we are dealing with a female. How do we do that? So we can say font bold. It's a property of the text element. And we can put a value here, for example, true, okay, to make it bold. If we run, we're going to see the text become bold. Okay, it's bold. But we can make this depend on this Boolean property that we have here. So we're going to say is female. So if it's a female, we're going to make it bold. If it's not, we're going to not make it bold. This is a ternary operator in programming languages. You might have seen it somewhere else. Okay, we are making some progress. We can also work with double values. We can say property double m double. Let's say 77.5, for example. And you can output this value. Let's do that. Console log. Okay, is it called m double? Yes, it is. Let's run. We should see the value of m double is 77.5. Okay, we have worked with strings, integers, booleans, and doubles. Another data type that we may use is the URL data type here. So let's try this. It has many similarities to the string data type, but it is specifically used for URLs. So let's do property URL, and I call it MURL. And inside, put in our website. Why not? Okay. And we can output it as we've been doing before. Console log the value of and if we run, we see it here. To show you that this is very different from a string, in terms of data types, let's take this URL here and paste it in our text here. And down here, we are going to do a test. We're going to say if mstring equals, we use a triple equal because this thing in JavaScript tests for value and the data type. It checks to see if the values are equal. It also looks at the data types to make sure that they are equal. So we are going to check this against MURL. And if they are equal, value and data type, we're going to say console log. Let's copy this. And if they are not equal, we're going to say they are not the same. Let's run the application. They are not the same. But if you use a double equal sign to only test for the value, you're going to see that they are equal because we are only checking to see if the values are equal, and you see they are equal. Now you know a little bit about the difference between a string data type and a URL data type, and we're going to have a chance to use these later in the course. This lecture is getting pretty long, so we're going to stop here and continue exploring this subject in the next one.